Thank you to Zane G, Andrew Papas, and Danny Loves Retenikov, I think is how you say it, for suggesting this video. This is my first time revisiting a band at an earlier era, and it's the era that kicked off the band that is the most played in all of my playlists every year. Hello there ladies and gents, and welcome back to One Man Bands, your favourite biannually posting small-time songwriting YouTuber, on the channel where I take popular bands and write songs inspired by their style. Today we're going back to where it all started for Swedish rock and metal heavyweights Ghost. What is there to say about this band that I haven't already said? The brainchild of songwriter and masked frontman Tobias Forge. I really wanted to go back and revisit this era of Ghost because they're a band that's had a huge effect on me over the last decade. In fact, such a huge effect that I actually remembered the exact video that helped me to discover them for the first time. Back in, I think, early 2012, I watched this video on the Noisy YouTube channel and heard my first clip of Ghost. As soon as I heard the chorus of Conclavi Con Dio, the mixture of the proto-metal riffs and that devilishly sweet voice, I was immediately intrigued and I had to go down the rabbit hole. And boy have I not looked back since. That and the strange robed man that started appearing to me at night. And only a few months after OPUS EPONYMOUS dropped, I was already trying to absorb all of the Ghost-related content I possibly could. So it's time for me to pay homage to this early era of Ghost. Today, we're writing an OPUS EPONYMOUS inspired Ghost song. First off, let's get some sounds to make this song with. We're thinking pretty retro here. There's not going to be a lot of post-processing going on, so we need to get these sounds right from the get-go. The drums are very vintage sounding, and without using a real drum kit, I actually found them pretty hard to replicate. So I settled on this combination in Superior Drummer and routed everything through the onboard tape machine for that vintage warmth. I also layered that kit up with this setup in SSD to add to that kind of papery vintage sound and really emphasize all of the Ghost notes. Hey hey! So here is that combined drum sound. The bass is front and center in a lot of these songs, and there's many moments where you let that dirty bass tone shine in all of its glory. So I opted for this emulation of an Ampeg V4B with some compression, EQ sculpting and a bit of distortion on the way in for ample filthiness. For the guitars, according to this interview, the whole album was recorded on an orange Thunderverb, which thankfully I have an emulation of right here. We aren't going overboard on the drive here. Being able to get the balance of the note itself and also the crunchiness of the drive is crucial at this point so that you can get some chugs going in the verses and then open up and get some of those pleasant chords in the choruses. Thankfully these amp settings were kindly delivered to me on a piece of parchment by a bat on the last full moon.
What?
And of course, any Ghost song wouldn't be complete without some spooky organs. Here's what I put together. And now we have our sounds, let's put them to work. To get this song started, one of the little quirks I love on Opus are some of the janky little drum parts we get, like the intro on Death Knell. Tobias himself admitted he found it slightly ridiculous asking his drummer to play this drum part. But it works, and you immediately know what song it is when you hear it, so let's do one for ourselves. I tried to be as rigid and janky with it as I possibly could, and here's what I came up with. And from there we need to immediately jump into something that's going to grab the users and drag them in. A riff. But how did Ghost write their riffs in this period? Well, Tobias can help us out here. He imagined that Ghost on their first album were very pre-metal, and that to me conjures up images of what metal sounded like in its infancy. And there are two important movements or intervals that we're going to be using. Semitones, or minor seconds, and tritones. Essentially, if you think of the first Black Sabbath album, we're in that territory. And yes, the tritone is the musical interval that allegedly had demonic connotations and was supposedly avoided in medieval times and called the devil in music. So of course, bands like Black Sabbath and Ghost took that theme and ran with it. Check out the riff from Death Knell. It is all tritones and semitones. Could it be more proto-metal? Did you notice anything strange about me playing that riff? That's right, it's on bass! Tobias loves starting songs with the riff on bass on this album. The first time you hear the riff in Con Clavi Con Dio, Prime Mover, Death Knell, all on the bass. So we're gonna do the same thing. So here's the riff that I came up with using all of those tritones and semitones and all the tones that make it sound very proto-metal, played of course on the bass. Now as we come to add in the guitars, there's going to be a very specific approach, which Tobias Forge kindly explained for us in his interviews. This is the concept of the dumb guitarist and the slightly less dumb guitarist. The idea behind this is that he put himself in two different headspaces when writing the guitar parts for the Opus songs. Let's take the first Ghost song ever written, Stand By Him, as an example of this phenomenon. The intro riff consists of two guitar parts, one panned on the left and one panned on the right. On the left, we have the dumb guitarist playing this riff. And on the right, we have the slightly smarter guitarist, adding a little more harmonic colour and a little more complexity to the riff. And together, they sound like this. It's like the dumber guitarist wants to root you in metal, keep you there, and just write music like that, whereas the smarter guitarist is attempting to reach out to a wider audience and add a bit of harmonic colour. And we all know how that goes down. So for my main riff, we're going to have the dumb guitarist doing some boneheaded proto-metal guitar riffing. Then the slightly smarter guitarist is adding a bit of colour and complexity with their part. And that gives us this as our main riff. The one other feature of the riff writing on this record that will really give you that ghosty feel is introducing some micro riffs as you go. For example, in Ritual you have this super simple main riff. And at the end you get this little mini riff to close out the bar. In Death Knell there's the same thing, but even shorter, and it's used to transition into the chorus. The verse riff is just this. But the last time before the chorus you get this extra chord in there that lands nicely on the first chord of the chorus. So as a little transitional mini riff going into my chorus, I came up with this. So with those basics in mind, let's assemble our Opus Eponymous song. Now we've got the main vibe of the song down. For our verses, we're really going to hammer on that tritone that we spoke about before. Lyrically, we need to picture a spooky chapel on a hill and sing about various nondescript culty things. So here is what I came up with for the verse.
Sainted Mother, may you smile from the grave. Drag down for reckoning your subjects of dismay.
Now, where the verses of these songs are the spooky, eerie bits that drag you into the graveyard, surrounded by menacing figures in dark robes, the choruses are the moments where those figures cast off those dark robes to reveal that they are, in fact, the Beach Boys. The chorus of Stand By Him is a Beach Boys song, and I will not hear anything to the contrary.
'Tis the night of the witch. 'Tis the night of the witch tonight. And the vengeance is hers for as long as she stands by you.
So we need an almost unnervingly upbeat chorus that's undoubtedly catchy, even if the lyrics are still dark and serious. So I'm going to come up with a chord progression that has a bit of that 60s jive to it. Now all it needs is some dark lyrics sung with a threatening amount of enthusiasm.
The smell of funeral flowers permeates the witching hour. A whisper in the dead of night.
For our second verse, we're going to change things up a little and add a very strange, spooky chord progression. Opus is littered with these passages that have very disjointed, strange chord progressions that kind of add to the overall unease of the tracks. Take the refrain from the middle section of Stand By Him. So I want something that catches the listener out straight after the first chorus. In Stand By Him, the chorus changes up one semitone in key from the rest of the song, which is really fun and gives a nice lift going into the chorus, but coming back out again, dropping down a semitone, gives a really pleasant sense of impending doom that I feel is appropriate for ghost songs. So coming out of our chorus, we're going to be going down one semitone and throwing in a spooky, janky chord progression, mainly to appease any undead listeners.
A whisper in the dead of night. In the belly of the beast, a heathen cult cooks up a feast. If you wish to join their rank, then you need not but take a hand.
So we've got the main body and theme of our song down, but I'm really feeling having something heavy in there before we hit our final chorus. Although Ghost were going for a very vintage proto-metal sound, long before the scourge of monotonous halftime breakdowns infected the entire genre, they aren't afraid of having moments on Opus where they let loose and get down and heavy. I'm going to wind people up with that statement. For example, the solo section of Conclavi con Dio. Or this tapping section in Stand By Him. So we're going to go double time, and we're going to have the dumb guitarist chugging away on the low strings. Then over the top we'll have the smarter guitarist playing a series of ostinato patterns over the top of these chugs.
Marvel as the speakers are true, start to turn their gaze towards you, basking in the flames of glory, brought to light from allegory.
Lyrically, it's all about the image that the words paint in your brain. You've got to think Nosferatu wandering bleary-eyed through a chapel, on a hill, in a graveyard, at 2 a.m. kind of vibe. So I turned my lights off, changed the mood lighting to a ghoulish green, donned the robe that was left for me by a man in strange face paint the night I started writing this song, and scratched out some lyrics for the track. And with that, we have completed our Opus Eponymous inspired song, which I'm going to play for you now. I hope it pleases you, and I hope it pleases you. If you do enjoy, leave a like, comment which band I should do next, and subscribe so you can see when I eventually do. This is my song inspired by Opus Eponymous era Ghost. It's called Witching Hour. Enjoy!